Hi guys, it's been a while, but I'm back with another quick tips video. Today we want to rejuvenate a CRT tube of an arcade monitor. As you all know, CRT tubes are aging, and not only in terms of the chassis of the CRT monitor, where we usually have problems with dried out capacitors or problems with the flyback transformer. Also the tube of a CRT monitor is aging, which usually results in a dim picture and the colors losing their vibrance. I will go through the process and how it works later. Again, as always in this video, the purpose is to go step by step through the repair, and hopefully we'll be successful rejuvenating this monitor. The arcade machine that we're going to try to fix the tube in is this OutRun machine, which was made in 1986 by Sega. It's a really fun game, and I was very happy to be able to pull it out of a barn literally recently, and I had to do some work on it to get it running again. The monitor did have some problems. In this case it's a Hanterex MTC 900E, and at first it didn't show any picture at all. It turned out to have problems with the B+ voltage circuit. It was basically malfunctioning potentiometer. After I discovered that, I got picture back. I had some missing colors. It turned out to have cold solder joints on the RGB connector, which could be easily fixed. But then the next problem was that the picture was just too dark, and even with all the brightness settings on the chassis and on the flyback transformers at maximum, the picture was still dark. And the reason for that is that the tube is basically exhausted after years and years and years of usage. The problems with the brightness setting is also always that if you're reaching a certain level, so if you're turning the brightness way up, you always get some color problems, like smearing of the colors, bleeding of colors, and general blurriness of the sharp edges that you would like to see on a test pattern, for instance. Okay, but enough preliminary talk. Let's get right into the rejuvenation process. So the first thing to do is disconnect the arcade machine from power, and immediately after that, before we can start the rejuvenation process, we need to discharge the CRT tube. I'm doing this, as you can see here, with a screwdriver that has a cable attached to it, which is grounded. It is very important to discharge the tube, because even if the monitor is not connected to power, it is still charged with a very high voltage, which can cause harm if not handled properly. So this is a little disclaimer. Please make sure you know what you're doing. There are certainly several videos on how to discharge CRT tube on the web, which are worth looking at before doing so for the first time. If it's done right, you will probably see a little spark or hear a little clicking sound when you are discharging the monitor. We are also disconnecting the neck board from the CRT tube, and those are the 2 points that the rejuvenation device, which we will be using, is going to be connected to. So it will be connected to the with an anode cap, and also through the CRT neck. Okay, now to understand how the rejuvenation process works, we need to go a bit into theory. In the CRT neck there is 3 filaments for the colors red, green and blue, and those filaments, when the CRT monitor is switched on, those filaments are emitting electrodes, which are then traveling through the tube to the screen, and which are then generating the picture. Over the years, and that is the problematic part, the emissions coming from those filaments tend to decrease, so resulting in a darker picture. The decrease of the emissions is caused by particles and oxidation that is accumulating on the filaments, and which is then blocking the electrode ray, so to say, resulting in a darker picture, like we see on our OutRun game. So what can we do about it? Somebody came up with an idea of a rejuvenation machine, and what this machine actually does, it is connected to those filaments electrically via the plug on the neck of the tube, and then the machine actually applies very high current and voltage for a short period of time to really let the filaments glow. And it's actually by heating them up extremely, much more than they would in normal operation, that the filaments start to get rid of the particles and oxidation that they're carrying on their surface. They are glowing so bright and so intensely that everything on the surface that is not really part of the filament is really fired up and probably falling down somewhere into the tube. But that's okay as long as the filaments are freed of those particles. And you can, during the rejuvenation process, and I will try to show you, you can actually see how the filaments are heating up extremely, and you can see sorts of very bright lights and flashes going on. That is actually when the particles are, being fired off the surface of the filaments. So that is the theory behind the rejuvenation process. There's one problem with this process, however. There's a certain risk of damaging the filament, or maybe even burning up a filament, which then would of course lead to the complete loss of a single color. Like if you accidentally burn up the green filament, afterwards you won't have any more green color on the screen. So the tube is basically worthless in that extreme case. That is a risk you always have to take when you are thinking about rejuvenating a tube. But on the other hand, if the tube is worthless or not really usable in a non-rejuvenated state, then what do you have to lose? Okay, so let us start the rejuvenation process. I'm not really going into any details about the machine and how to set it up and what knobs to press. I think it's not really that important. The rejuvenation machine I'm using is a Koenig 850 TR, which is a German brand machine. It's identical, I think, with another model which you could buy in the US, which was a BK Precision 490B, but there are several brands, several makes of rejuvenators. They are all antique by today's standards, but I think you can get them fairly easily on eBay or on Craigslist or wherever. I think you don't really actually need a version that supplies you with the instruments to judge on the filaments emissions. There are some devices which come with those gauges and some that don't. It's all really not that important. It would be nice to have a manual coming with the device, so you need so you can tell how to set it up. Really, what it comes down to is that you, in all cases, you can select the filament you want to rejuve, which is RGB, and then you just push some start button, and then the rejuvenation process is starting. And I would recommend watching the neck while the rejuvenation process is running. You will see the neck lighting up intensely, and after you see flashes coming from the filaments for a short amount of time, the rejuvenation device normally pauses the process for a moment. You can repeat this 1 or 2 times for each filament, and after that I think it normally should be enough treatment for the filaments. I would then recommend to disconnect the rejuvenator and hook the machine back up and check for the result. You could then repeat the process or even use a higher output setting if that is available at the machine, if the result is not sufficient. So in case of my game, I did 2 runs of high power rejuvenation for all the 3 filaments, and I did see some great light effect show in the CRT neck. So I'm hoping that the filaments are still okay. Judging by the gauges of my rejuvenator, they should be, because it's still measuring emissions from all of them, which are actually way better than they were just when I started the process. But what is always counting is the picture, of course. So let's hook everything up and check for the final result. And well, what can I say? The result for this OutRun game is just amazing. It is one hell of a difference. The picture is now so bright and crisp, really, that you could think that actually the monitor was replaced by a brand new one. So I did put a lot of thought into this rejuvenation, and I thought, well, it's kind of okay, the picture. Do I really want to risk ruining the tube? What can I do if I ruin the tube? Where do I get a new one, etc., etc. But I'm so happy that I did this, because now it is like day and night. You could actually think the picture is so bright and sharp that you could think that somebody put an LCD screen into this machine. It's really crazy. I don't know if the video really can do it justice here, and as you can see, I have to excuse for that. You always have the flickering in the screen, which is of course not seen in person on the machine, and which is caused by the recording camera. But I think you can actually see the difference. Before I started the process, I was really fiddling around with the settings, and I was trying to put the knobs in a way and combination that I really get the best picture possible. And right now it's a huge difference and I didn't even fiddle around with the settings that much. I think for a better comparison, yes, I will show you. Here you can see some pictures of the before and after condition of the CRT. In the beginning, yeah, as you can see, it looks the picture looks rather dim, and you can also see that the text in the corners of the screen is really blurry. And after the rejuvenation, this text appears really crisp, and the overall brightness and contrast of the picture is much different. So this was a really great success, I would say. Okay, so thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video. If you have any questions to the rejuvenation regarding the rejuvenation process, please feel free to ask in the comments. I will try to catch up with every comment and answer them very happily if I can help in any way. And of course, if you would like to see more videos, I actually stopped making videos for some time. I was kind of out of the hobby, but by acquiring this machine, I just kind of got back into it. I still have another machine in the garage, which I need to fix up and repair, which is a House of the Dead machine by Sega, another classic, which I managed to grab somewhere near the river Rhine here in Germany. And yeah, if you like to see some videos about that restoration, I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So again, thank you very much for watching, and until the next video.